This is Mark McNeese, and you're listening to One Thing or Another, interviews and conversations. Welcome to the One Thing or Another podcast. This is your host, Mark McNeese, and today I have a returning guest who is also an often featured book reviewer at lgbtsr.com and a longtime friend, actually. It's Terri Schlichenmeyer, somewhere in Wisconsin.
Somewhere in Wisconsin, where it's going to be like 89 today. We've had lots and lots of super hot weather, and you won't hear me complain about it, but it's dry and we do need rain, so there's that.
Well, I'm not a hot weather guy. We had a 4 or 5 day heat streak last week, and today this is perfect weather for me. It's high 70s, a little bit cloudy. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a nice temperature, but boy, anything that's under 75, I don't want to hear it.
Oh, okay. So why do you live in Wisconsin?
That's what I ask myself every winter. I ask myself that every single winter. It's winter is rough, but you know the thing is when spring comes back around, it's glorious. It truly is. I mean, everything. You can almost watch the trees. This is the thing about trees in Wisconsin, deciduous trees. You can kind of tell what they're thinking because they're dry and they're spare and there's nothing on them. But then all of a sudden, if you watch really close, like this certain weekend, you can see it coming. There's nothing and there's nothing, and then all of a sudden the trees burst forth with this. They look fuzzy. They look like they would be, if you could reach the leaves, they would be soft because they just come out and they just. But there's a 2-day period where the trees look fuzzy, and it's beautiful.
Now, do you have cicadas there?
No, we do not.
Oh my gosh, lucky you.
Yeah, I'm hearing. I saw your audio clip, and that would drive me nuts.
Yeah, it's a little deafening, and I know they're miraculous creatures and all of this stuff, but I could do without being surrounded by them.
Would you eat one? Because people are talking about eating them. Would you eat one?
I would not, because I'm just not a bug, odd animal sort of person who eats these things. But I know that there's chocolate-covered cicadas. I saw something about that. And, of course, there are people who make patties out of them, like indigenous peoples and that sort of thing. And I think everybody should eat what they eat, you know, what their culture and society eats, but I'm not interested.
And I agree with that, but I think if somebody said, here, have a chocolate-covered cicada, I would say, no.
No. I mean, we had...
I'm adventurous, but not like that.
We had soft-shell crabs last night, and even that is, 2 nights ago, but even that's pushing it for me. I ate them, but there's just something about eating like the entire animal is kind of
different. That's when you think about the innards. No, thank you.
Well, they get clean. They get clean, but it's not my thing.
No, and oysters. I'm sorry for oyster lovers, but no. I did an oyster once, and that was enough. That was enough. So.
Now, let's get into some 411 on Terri Schlichenmeyer. I did mention at the top that I found you some time ago. It's been quite a number of years.
Yeah, and, we've worked together for 5, 6, 8, 7 years, something like that.
Ever since early on when I started my website for the over 50. Of course, now I'm 62. I'm well over that. LGBTSR, LGBTsenior.com.
Yes.
I've been running your book reviews. I like them. But just in case people haven't listened to one of our other you've been on, I think this is the 3rd time on a podcast with me, but just give people a quick rundown of you, Terri Schlichenmeyer.
I live in Wisconsin with a very patient man who puts up with me and 2 not spoiled little dogs. They say they're not spoiled, but yeah, they are. I have been reviewing for almost 19 years. And I have a book coming out in August, beginning of August.
Talk about that.
It is called The Big Book of Science and History. And it's long-form trivia, short little essays of things that you probably don't know or don't know a lot about. and that comes out August 1st.
How did that come about?
I knew the publisher for a real long time, and he had asked me if I was interested in doing a book for him. It was Big Book of Facts. That's what the title is. It changed about 6 times. Anyway, he said to me that he wanted me to do a book for him, and I said, okay, yeah. And then when the time came that he actually wanted me to do the book, I didn't have time for it, so I did it with someone else. And it was a good process, but I knew that there was more that I had in me. And so I pitched this book to him, and we kicked around a few ideas for about 6 or 8 months, and just kind of, looked at how we wanted it to look and because he had never done anything like this before. And it's a small publisher out of Michigan. And he kicked around. He knew what he wanted, and I knew what I wanted, and we met in the middle, and there we are. The Big Book of Facts comes out August 1st.
And I bet it's full of facts.
I'm sorry?
I bet it's full of facts.
It's full of facts, yes. It's very factual. One of my favorite stories is, are you familiar with Charlie Parkhurst?
No.
Charlie Parkhurst in the middle 1800s was bad. I mean, outlaws feared Parkhurst. Women loved Parkhurst. Your typical gunslinger, hard drinking, action kind of, hard bitten kind of person. Parkhurst drove for the Wells Fargo stagecoach, and it is said that when bandits came to rob the stagecoach and they saw Charlie Parkhurst at the rein, they went the other way. They were terrified of Charlie Parkhurst. And years later, after Parkhurst retired and on a little farm and everything, but I want to say somewhere around age 70, late 60s, early 70s, which was pretty up there back in the middle 1800s. Parkhurst died, and they took the body to the funeral home to be embalmed, and they discovered that Charlie Parkhurst was really Charlotte Parkhurst.
Wow. I love that.
That story is in there. And it's things like that you may not have heard of, but things in history and things in science. I looked at I researched the women who built the first Apollo spacesuits and what they went through to build those spacesuits. And there was an African-American woman who delivered the mail, was one of the first African-American postmistresses in Montana. I researched her. So it's little things like that you might not know or might not know a lot about.
It sounds fascinating.
It's fun.
I bet you're not going to review it, though.
Probably not. My own book? No.
Now, on previous conversations, we have covered how you became a book reviewer and all of that. So I think we're gonna glide over that this time. By the way, I did meet you in person, so people know we have met physically. We had dinner in New York City, where I no longer live, with Frank, and Mark was there, wasn't he?
Mark was there. Yes.
The other Mark. Yes.
Yes, he is very much into gardening this year. He is because we have 3 acres, and it's 2.5 or 2 of it, 2-ish is open land, and so he's very, very into gardening this year. We are learning about about plants that he is interested in. We live on sand, so the part of Wisconsin we live on is very fine sand, and so we have to find drought tolerant, sandy soil kind of plants, and he's pretty into that. So in another year or 2, our yard will burst forth with color. How was that? How was that phrase? Turn of phrase. Burst.
I like it. It's very colorful.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted a couple pandemic questions, because we are emerging from restrictions and all of that, which I am delighted to be experiencing. I did my part. I was a very good citizen. I had to wear a mask because of work. I don't have to now because I'm fully vaccinated. But I was curious to know, because you have always sort of worked remotely. Did this the last 14 months? Did it change the way you work as a book reviewer, and is it changing now? I'm curious about that.
It's it was a little bit funny at first. The first month, I had a hard time getting books, and then I started getting e-galleys, which I gamely tried. But when you're reading 4 books, I tend to start 2 of them and work my way through all 4 of them at the same time during the course of a week. So when you're reading 4 books on the same device at the same time, it isn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as actually picking up the book. So I got to the point where I couldn't do them anymore physically or work-wise, because when you spend that much time on a device between my laptop and my desktop and my tablet, it was too much. And I spent a whole weekend with washcloths over my eyes and said no more. So after I explained to the publicist that I work with what was going on, they were like, "Oh, well, we'll just get stuff from the warehouse for you." So that only lasted, the problem only lasted about a month. And if you are one of my publicists and you're listening, thank you. So I started getting books, and now I get them I get them like I always did, on a pretty regular basis. And so yeah, I in that respect it changed for me, but only a little and only for a while.
All right. Well, I'm curious too. Do you have? I'm sure I've asked you this previously, but schedule-wise, do you read 5 days a week and then do your reviews 2 days a week? How do you manage that?
On Sunday I start book 1, so I'm already 20 pages into book 1. In a perfect world, I would have been finished with it, but I goofed around all weekend. So on Monday, generally, I do have something else I can write about today. So Monday, I generally kind of pick at something I'm working on. Tonight, I will finish the book that I started yesterday. It'll be ready to write about tomorrow, and tomorrow night I will start book number 2. And that's how I work. I read the night before and write about it the following day. I also have a rotating book in the bedroom or 2, a book or 2 in the bedroom, I should say, and those are for squeezing in or working ahead. So most weeks I only have 3 or 4 books, but sometimes there's 5, and every once in a while there could be 6. So I read in between times when I'm not writing or on the computer or talking with you.
Do you take vacations and not read?
I might take a day or 2 and not read, but no. I had a vacation in 2003 or 2002 or 2003. I had a vacation, but I mean, even when I come to New York, I have a book or 2 with me. And I read on the plane, and I read in the airport, and I read in between times when I'm waiting for Mark to do whatever he's doing, or we're getting ready to go someplace or whatever. I will finish at least 1 book when I come to New York. I'll finish at least 1.
Now, what happened to the book conventions last year?
The last year was they postponed it to July. They postponed it from May to July, and then in July they pretty much said no, it's not going to happen. This year it was virtual, and it worked out really, really, really well. The person who put it together did a phenomenal job, and Christy Cassidy did an absolutely phenomenal job, and I'm sure she would share the limelight with others, but I only know that she put in a ton of work. And it was once I got used to using the website, it was seamless. It was wonderful. I talked to a lot of old friends. That was really nice. So if you have to go to a virtual conference, it sounds kind of odd, but it's a lot of fun.
I wonder if that's going to change, because I was reading the other day about how like hotels now are figuring out they can work with fewer people, and it's going to change the work. Some things in the various workplaces will be different. And
yeah,
we'll
I absolutely think that is correct. And they kind of already are, because back when I had a day job, I was expected to be at work Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, end of story, period, no more, no argument. And I see now that a lot of people are going kind of a hybrid model of office, 2 days at home, 3 days at work, or the other way around. And yay, because if people have a chance to work at home, I think they're just as productive in a different way.
Yes.
It isn't the same as the business model that people have been using for 250 years, but they're still going to get the job done. That's the whole thing. People know they have to work for a certain amount of time, and they know they have to get jobs done, and if they don't, they know they're going to lose their jobs. I mean, it's always been that way, and it's going to be that way if you're at home. So.
And they don't have to spend money on clothes.
And they don't have to spend money on travel, and they don't have to spend. I mean, lunches. There's 100 things, and I kind of almost think that one of the hidden benefits, I was thinking about this the other day, is that if you're working from home, you like all your coworkers. That's
true. You don't have to pretend like anybody.
Yeah, it's a respite.
Not there.
I mean, seriously, it is a respite, and that can be for people who. For people who have worked in offices and gotten involved in office drama, that can be a really nice respite. So.
And if you do have conference calls and that sort of thing, always remember the camera. Yes. Don't be Jeffrey Toobin, who thought the camera was off and did some things that got him fired. I don't know how people aren't aware of that, but they weren't.
I don't understand it either. Or people who stand up all of a sudden and they're not wearing pants. Yeah, you can see. Look at your screen,
Yeah, just turn the camera off or put a little piece of tape over there.
Yeah, or something. So
now, anyway. I'm ready to move into some books.
Books.
You're the bookworm, Terri Schlichenmeyer. Bookworm Sez. 2 kinds of books I was hoping to hit on. Summer. Any suggestions you have, and then also because it's June and because I am a gay married man, Pride Month.
There are a lot of. Let me start with Pride. Yay!
Okay.
There are a lot more Pride books than there used to be. Even 10 years ago, it was really kind of hard to find any books on Pride, and now they actually even have kids' books on Pride.
Wow!
So things are evolving. As you said earlier, things are always changing. There's Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the Rainbow Flag. That's a kid's book for kids up to 8 years old. I'm seeing another one, Sewing a Rainbow, about Gilbert Baker. So there's a lot of kids books, which I think is phenomenal. Gilbert Baker actually has his own book out about making the flag, and that too is a great book for Pride. That's Rainbow Warrior, it's called, and that's for adults. But teens could, you could certainly hand it to a 16, 17-year-old. It's about Gilbert Baker, his life, and how he created the rainbow flag. Mm-hmm. And that just came out in paperback a little while ago. Here's another one that I loved and I wanted to point out. It's called The Children of Harvey Milk. And it's about the people who came after Milk, the people who Harvey Milk inspired. And I think that's, if you don't know about Harvey Milk, you should.
Mm-hmm.
And so The Children of Harvey Milk, that came out last year. Very good book. And so if you're looking for a book on Pride, just throw yourself at the mercy of a bookseller or a librarian, because they will be able to find you pretty much anything you will need to know, because the books are out there, and that's so exciting.
Yeah, historical books are good, and of course there's always LGBT fiction.
Yes. There are a lot of again, there's more. LGBTQ books are more prevalent now than they were even a decade or two ago. They're easier to find, I think. the mainstream publishers are publishing a lot of them. I have a stack a foot high on my desk that I was going to tell you about. So there are a lot of them. And if you are looking for fiction, if you're looking for nonfiction, if you're looking for history, or pretty much any genre, you're going to find it now, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Now, what in terms of beach reads? Because we're going to Rehoboth at the end of July. What are some things that you would recommend I take with me?
Well, there's The Gunkle, which is a book by a gay uncle. Gay plus uncle equals Gunkle. Yes. And it's a cute little memoir. You could take that one with you. A Night at the Sweet Gum Head by Martin Paget is a book about being gay in Atlanta, the revolution, as the author says. That's a history book. Author Wade Rouse writes under the pseudonym Viola Shipman, and Wade has a series of very cute women's books. He's writing basically as his grandmother, and
what are they about?
They're women's books about women, which is an interesting take. It's very interesting.
I have to say, that really got my attention because I write gay mysteries, as you possibly know.
Yes,
but
I possibly know that.
That genre, that is being sort of, I don't like the word colonized. It's a whole conversation we're not going to have. But there's romance was created. That's male romance. It's was created by straight women. It's written by straight women, and it's read by straight women. So it was really interesting to me to hear you talk about this author writing as a woman and apparently having success. And I mean, good for him. Like, let's do it, guys. Let's take it over.
Well, the last one was a book about the friendship, the very, very, very complicated friendship of four women when they were children, and something happened when they were teenagers that destroyed their friendship. And so these are, you know what a cozy, of course you know what a cozy mystery
definitely.
is. These are cozy friendship novels. These are the kinds of novels that you can share with your grandmother. There's no profanity in them. There's no overt sex in them. If there is a romantic bedroom scene, that's how it's treated. It's a romantic bedroom scene. It's not, they went to bed and they did this and this and this. He took her hand and they had a romantic bedroom scene. It's that kind of thing. Very gentle. These are very gentle books. So if you read them, you can, like I said, you can share them with your mother, knowing that these were written by a gay man.
Now, just give me his pen name one last time, and then I'll let it go.
Viola Shipman, Shipman. The last one is called The Clover Girls.
Okay, all right. Because I gotta check that out.
You gotta check that out.
Now for
the other thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The other thing, there are a lot of animal books, dog books, cat books, horse books written by LGBTQ people. There is, and this one here, if you're into vacation reads that are going to inflame you a little bit, there is a book about gay reparations that's out this year.
Wow.
And there is a book about trans medicine that's out this year. A lot of books about trans individuals have come out in the last 5 years or so. This year, there are a lot about trans parenting. And so that's an interesting, it's an interesting sub genre, I see it as. But it's starting to get to be the point where you can very easily, you can and will very easily find them about parenting as parenting biologically and parenting adoption wise. The other thing I'm noticing with LGBTQ books is that the authors are starting to be older. It isn't books by 20-somethings anymore so much. it's books by people who are our age, who've been around the block a little bit. Just finished a book called As a Woman by Paula Stone Williams, and it's about Paul Williams. Most of it is about Paul Williams, mm-hmm. and how Williams was, family man and had kids. The kids were grown. He and his wife were looking toward retirement, and he decided, no, now is the time I transition. And so that's one thing I'm learning. I'm noticing is that a lot of the authors now, or a good number of the authors now, are older authors willing to tell their stories.
Now let's broaden the readership here for the average person. What are you recommending for summer reading for just the general public?
I loved a book called Jackpot by Michael Mechanic, and it's about wealth. Wealth is very much in the news right now. This is not a book about striking it. Well, it is a book about striking it rich. It's a book about people who were not, how people got their money. Not just, boom, I won the lottery. That's part of it, but also people who got their money through stocks that went wildly, like people who got Apple stock early on, or Amazon stock. A couple of them are where their parents were incredibly wealthy and their parents died and left them big money, and how they dealt with it, and what really, really, really it's like to have sudden money. And everybody dreams about winning the lottery, but I have to tell you that after this, it will change the way you think about incredible wealth.
So it should make me content that I will never have it.
Actually, yes. Actually, yes. Okay. Everybody dreams about wild, crazy money, but wild, crazy money is work. It is actual. It's actual work. If you have a job, you may as well give it up, because your entire existence is going to be is watching that money, and that's what the author says, is that it isn't going boating every day and living off of a yacht and flying all over the world. It's also making sure that someone that you can trust is watching your money and watching them to make sure that they are. So it's a very interesting book. I absolutely loved it. Another one I loved is Daisy and Violet by Sarah Miller. That is, it's such an odd topic that I loved it so much. It's about conjoined twins. True story. Violet and Daisy Hilton were born in 1915, 1918, or early 1900s. And their mother was unmarried, so she gave them away to the midwife. The midwife abused them when they were children. When she got to be older, she owned them, quote unquote, and she transferred them over to her son-in-law, who they all brought them to the girls to America. Their son-in-law further took advantage of them until they were 21 in a splashy court case. And the interesting thing is that they had to go to court several times in order to be able to get married, because people figured that if one of them married, it was actually kind of bigamy. So it was, and it goes off of the Chang and Egg Bunker, the original Siamese twins, who were married and had a lot of kids. Also touches on Millie Christine. Millie Christine is actually Millie and Christine, but because they were slave girls, most of the time they were referred to as one child, Millie Christine. And so this is a whole entire world of early 1900s through maybe like 1950. The ending of Violet and Daisy it'll touch your heart. It'll make you almost cry because it's so sad. And that's what I'm going to tell you.
I think I may know it because I remember a story. I remember reading about them, but no spoilers. I won't say anything.
Yeah, no spoilers. It is a phenomenal book. You might find it in the young adult section, but It's not. At least it wasn't for me. I mean, I suppose a teenager could read it, a young adult could read it, but I absolutely loved it. And it's got pictures in it, so you can see, these two little cuties growing up, and they have not been gone for all that long, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So it's Violet and Daisy by Sarah Miller, and that's another one that I highly recommend for beachy reading. Jennifer Weiner has a book every year, and this one's called That Summer, and it's about a woman who goes through a divorce, and it's a story arc over years about her going through divorce and healing her soul. Absolute perfect beach read. There you go.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. Like mega authors, no James Patterson, none of that stuff.
Stephen King has a new book out or coming out. I believe Patterson does too. C.J. Box.
I'm throwing their names out there. I don't read them anymore. I was a big Stephen King fan when I was a kid, and I'm not convinced James Patterson actually writes anything anymore.
You're not the first person who said that to me. Yeah, you're not the first person who said that to me. Stephen King, I haven't read Stephen King in a while. Actually, if you liked Stephen King, try his son, Joe Hill.
Oh, yes, I like Joe Hill.
Oh, Joe Hill scares the pants off of people. Yeah. He's good. So if you like Stephen King, try Joe Hill. C.J. Box has a new book out that came out this spring.
Yeah, I like C.J. Box.
Yeah, Ace Adkins has a new book out. So, yeah, check, because the big season for mysteries and thrillers and that seems to be in the spring, as far as I can see, and everything else is in the fall. But you'll find both in both times. But there are really two big times of releases, and that's pre-summer and fall. But it's starting to get to the point where July is really kind of a heat up moment, where there are a lot of good things coming out in July too. So go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I just finished John Sanford's newest Ocean Prey, the Prey series. There might be 20 books. I've read all of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I like series that with characters who have gotten old with me, like Michael Connelly's Bosch, which is also an amazing series on Amazon Prime. It's coming up they're going to do one final season of it with Titus Welliver. I've been reading Bosch for the same thing for years, and the character gets old. He's like in his 60s. I'm in my 60s, and I like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of like Walter Mosley's books. Mm-hmm. The character gets older with you. Are you familiar at all with William Kent Kruger?
No.
He writes mysteries set in northern Minnesota. His detective, well, not really. He's not even a detective. He's a small town sheriff, a game warden kind of guy. Works with the state. He is part Native American, and so his books are very good. If you like C.J. Box, you would like William Kent Kruger. There's another author that you might like, especially if you and I'm talking to readers here or listeners here. If you have Midwestern roots, try John Galligan, because he writes about small town life in Wisconsin. Okay. And dead on. I mean, the language and the sights that people will see and the things that people do, absolutely dead on. So there are a lot of authors out there for everybody. I mean, I'm no matter what you like to read, there's something out there for you. That's the good news.
Yeah. Now, do you tell people how they can find you? I mean, they can always find you by looking for you. Like I said the other day, I sent you a message because Frank had seen one of your reviews in Out, New Jersey, because you're syndicated. Oops, sorry, hang on. Sorry about that.
Hello.
You're syndicated, but how can people, if they want to read your reviews, what's a good, easy way to do it?
You can find me you can look me up on Google, and you'll find me in a lot of places. or go to bookwormsez.com.
Okay. And we'll talk politics some other time.
Yes, I would like that. We will have a spirited discussion, and we'll probably agree pretty much all the time. So.
Well, at least Wisconsin did the right thing in 2020. I'll say that.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know what's going to happen coming up with everything, but like I said, we'll talk about that another time, because this time people like just want easy summer pride reading.
Yeah, and go find a book, because sometimes you can get involved in a book and politics just goes away.
Yeah, it's always good to leave it behind.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna head out and endure the cicadas until we get away from them. And it's been delightful to talk to you again. It always is. I consider you.
Well, and yes, and we need to do this more often. Yeah,
you're a friend as well as a book reviewer. So
absolutely, yes, forever, and a friend for a long time. Like you said earlier, it's been a while.
Time flies when you're reviewing books. That's for sure.
Oh, I know it does. Well, you have a wonderful day, and
okay, Terri,
say hello to Frank for me.
I will.
And I'll catch you in the bookmarks.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show. This is Mark McNeese, and you've been listening to One Thing or Another: Interviews and Conversations.